see. Look at this. This has nothing to do with. Okay, there go the volume. There you go. All right, here we go. I have to get my sound together. I don't know why they be playing around. And this one will probably get a little sketchy and choppy, like they always do, because they always do that. To my live streams. I wanted to come on today because there's a lot of confusion about voting in the black community. So I wanted, this is definitely going to be my last video because it's very tiresome and stressful to keep trying to explain, certain things. But what I really want to focus on is something that I saw, and it's going to explain why I see so many black people are confused about voting, right? So I watched a visual hosted by Roland Martin. He is a well-known respected personality. I guess I can say a newscaster on black issues, if you will. He broadcasted a prayer visual, and oh my God, the pastor came on, and basically he was like, he wanted to right away introduce politicians. He wanted them to stand up. He had them stand so everybody could see who these politicians were. He didn't mention what they had done in the community, why they deserved this recognition, but he made sure everybody knew who they were. So he started with that. And then right away, he started rights. And what he was upset about was Section 4 being removed, right? This pre-claim thing. Okay, but the reason they removed Section 4, the pre-claim or whatever, they removed it because that was a different time. Back then, they had literacy tests, for black people. Black people come in there, say you they may tell you, count to 10. Can you count to 10? Can you spell your name, or how many buttons is in this jar, and different things like that they would do to, just discourage black people from coming there, just humiliating you. They had dogs there. Their clan would be there at times to make sure that you didn't enter the building. And at times, if you entered the building, the police or the clan would remove you from voting. And even before that, they would actually go out to people's homes in areas where the black community was, and they would threaten them that if they went out and voted, they would get lynched. So Lyndon B. Johnson, he did a good thing as far as making sure that black people's rights were protected. And I just want to share my screen with you because I want to show you, what they did. It's basically more or less like an inconvenience the black church. And it didn't stop anybody from voting. It inconvenienced them. They ended the souls to the polls and, early voting, and they shut down a few places to vote, campuses to vote, schools, where people were used to voting to. So what they did was they inconvenienced them, and I understand them being upset about that. But what I don't voting rights, and they trying to attack this. Now the screen don't want to move. They always using voter suppression. You do not see these pastors in the communities talking about poverty, talking about the economic struggle of black people. You hear them voting time, and they start telling you about voters' rights. And I don't know why black people don't catch on to that. Not even the people in the churches act like they understand. So here's an article right here. It's a Voters' Rights Act Section 4 struck down by the Supreme Court. Okay. And here we go. Come on. Come on, stop playing games. Maybe if I shut this out, because I did put the video in the description box so you guys can go back and watch the video. It's 2 hours, watch it. And I'm telling you, you're not gonna learn anything about voting. Okay. Only thing you're gonna do is be afraid that somebody is coming to take your vote. Get people singing, Angie came out, black brother, strong brother. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with voting? I just couldn't understand it. Okay, so it says right here, the Supreme Court struck down Section 4 of the voting. Now it's connecting. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you so much for doing that. Okay, it struck down Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act on Tuesday. The provision of the landmark. Now, I did not move my screen. Look at this. This is ridiculous. Oh, they don't want me to read this? Now, if you could see my arrow, I'm just basically trying to get to the top. You can see on the live stream, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, provision landmark civil rights law. Okay, see? That's weird. But anyway, okay, now my mouse is over here. My hand is not on the mouse. Okay. Oh, God. The Supreme Court struck down Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act on Tuesday, the provision of the landmark civil rights law that designates change authored by Chief Justice John and Joyce Antonin Scalia, Anthony Kennedy, Clarence Thomas, and Samuel Altio, ruled in Shelby County versus Holder that things have changed dramatically in the South in the nearly 50 years since the Voting Rights Act was signed. So this was something that was signed and made in as an act in 1965. And like I was explaining to you before, that's when the Klan would be out there. They were killing, they would block you, they were giving people literacy tests and things like that. That's what they were doing back then. Today, that's not your problem. Okay. It says the court's opinion said it did not strike down the act of Congress lightly. So they thought about this and said it took care to avoid ruling on the constitutionality of the Voting Rights Act in a separate case back in 2009. So they wanted to make sure that they didn't mess with any of our constitutional rights to vote as Black people. But they had to do this carefully. Now, here's the next line should blow your mind. Congress could have updated the coverage formula at that time. In 2009, they could have updated the coverage formula at that time, but did not do so. Its failure to act leave us, the court, leave us today with no choice but to declare Section 4 unconstitutional. The formula in that section can no longer be used as a basis for subjecting jurisdictions to plea clearances. So now, here they go, voter rights, the NAACP, all these educated people, right? And I get so tired of people like, oh, you're ignorant because you didn't go to no HBCU and you didn't get this and you don't have this title and all that. And they're telling you ignorant. Here was educated people. And this was under Barack Obama now, the man y'all love. Under Barack Obama in 2009, was he not the president? He could have went back and addressed that and updated it so y'all could have kept souls to the polls and y'all would have kept early voting and all that. It's saying it right here. So because of their lack of responsibility for you as a Black community, you ended up losing souls to the polls, early voting, and they ended up inconveniencing you by shutting down some polling places. But that by no means give these churches and these pastors the right to come out and try to tell you that, and scare you and tell you, oh yeah, they coming after your voting rights. They trying to stop Black people from voting. We got to get together. That's what they do all the time. And I get sick of nobody challenging them on that nonsense. Now here I am. I hope people really watch this video and challenge them and bring up this right here. Ask them, why is it that in 2009, when you had a case in 2009, you didn't do your part as Congress and update that coverage formula at that time? Why did you leave it so then it had to become a court issue? You have opponents. You got Democrats, you got Republicans. They're always challenging each other on laws and going back and forth. So you had to know at some point they were going to challenge that when they constantly see Democrats just winning. You know why Democrats would win and hold power? Because of these 501c3s. I'm about to talk about that, and then I'm gonna get into what's going on with Black people and voting. These 501c3s, this is why these pastors and these people come out and tell you that not to vote by strategy, right? Don't look at your community in which your personal, your own family is suffering. Excuse me, drink some tea. They don't ask you to look at what you're going through personally in your own family. They don't ask you to look at the black race as a whole and look at the suffrage that we go through and continue to go through. What they tell you to do as church, you got to love all people, brothers and sisters, and you got to go out there and vote with the red man and the white man and the brown man and the green man and the purple man and the turquoise man, right? Watch Roland Martin thing. That's exactly what this. I don't know if he was a preacher, a pastor, a deacon, but that's exactly what he got up there and said. You got to vote for the brother man and the red man and the other man. And you know what he said after that? Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty. We are free. And I was like, oh my, I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe that in the church, this is how they're conducting themselves. Now they got a five, if they have a 501c3, by right, they're not even supposed to be talking about political issues to you. But they make sure they stay Democrat, and they always encouraging and pushing people to vote, black people to vote Democrat, even if it's against black people's interests, because you know why? Lyndon Johnson was a Democrat. A 501c3 is an agreement with the states that you're going to do what they tell you to do, that you're going to abide, you're going to flow under their jurisdiction now. So anything done without done under, not under jurisdiction or something that they would disapprove of, you lose your 501c3. Now, 90% of the churches, 90%, y'all, are 501c3s. So that means 90% of the churches are in a contract with the government. And this is why they push Democrat. They never, how does a black church sit down amongst black people and tell you that it is your responsibility to worry about somebody else? And when you got a son getting shot down in the street, whether it be by another black man, whether it be by another nationality, or whether it's by a police officer. You understand what I'm saying? They don't want you to worry about that. They want you to push all of that to the side. They want you to push poverty to the side. They want you to push the fact that you're being gentrified to the side. Put everything, all of your history, put that to the side. Everything that's going on with the school system, put that to the side. All these kids out here on lean, turned out on this fake ass weed. Put all of that to the side, brothers and sisters, and go out there and support other people. You know why? Because God is going to take care of you. You was put here on this earth to be tortured and go through stuff and help everybody else, because God is going to take care of you. And that is nonsense. And you know why? I'm going to tell you why. I wish I had the scripture in front of me, but I know a little bit about Christianity. And you know what? When the devil was trying to bribe Jesus with all of, look, I could make you the king of the world and I could give you all these riches, what did Jesus tell him? That he's not of the world. He is not of the world. So what did that mean? That mean that he didn't care about a status. He didn't care about the wealth. He didn't care about any of that. He was righteous, and he only cared about the salvation of the people. And this is why church and state needs to be separate, because these fried chicken grease preachers come out and start selling you nonsense that has nothing to, they don't provide you with any type of civics education. They don't provide you with any type of voting to go and pray about it. And that's ridiculous. And this is why God told you he's not of the world, right? But at the same time, he gave you a mind and a conscience, right? So that's what you're supposed to use to navigate in the world. When you go to God for your spiritual food. That's what you're supposed to go to God for your spiritual food, not for voting advice, because they don't know what they're talking about. They don't look at the economy. They don't look at, well, how black people doing in the stock market? Are we invested enough? Do we home ownership? Do we own enough homes? They don't have time to talk about that with you. Our kids, our boys, and our girls are behind in math and science. They don't talk about that in the church. They're not looking for no solution to tell you, well, we're going to implement this program in the church so that now our kids can be brought up to level and compete with everybody else. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do, but everybody want to tell black people how they shouldn't worry about themselves, and you shouldn't fight for yourself, and you shouldn't protest for yourself, and you shouldn't do all this other things for yourself, but you should go out and vote to support other people. You should go out and vote for open borders. The churches sat there and told you that. Now, if you watch any of my videos, and there's other people on here, RKNT, Truth News, and other people out here telling you the effects of illegal immigration on black people. But none of that matters because you're going to go to church and God is going to save you. I could tell you another scripture. In the Bible, it says, "O ye lazy man, how long will you sit with your hands folded? Surely poverty will come and rob you like a thief." What does that mean? That you cannot afford to sit down and not do anything about your own situation and go out and help other people with their situation, because poverty done robbed the black man like a thief 20 times over already. We got black people. You got a brother named Q Butter out here. And this is no disrespect to no people in Brooklyn or black people as a whole. But it was a big amount of people in Brooklyn, a large amount, excuse me. When I get passionate, it sounds a little crazy sometimes. But there's a large amount of people in Brooklyn who can't read. And you got, like he says, he's not into God or whatever, and that's fine. I love the brother anyway. You understand? I believe in God. But what he's saying is right. You got all them churches out there. They collect all of this money, and not one of them churches said, well, let's put together some money so we can start a reading program so that we can change the statistics. None of these churches do that. They don't do that. And they don't do it because they in contract with the government. And then here came Trump. Trump said, you know what? How about we take those 501c3s? That's why they mad. That's why they mad. And they in there telling you about the brother man and the other man. And they mad because Donald Trump said, I think maybe we will take back those 501c3s. That's why they mad. But ain't nobody gonna come out and tell you. And if any church people come across this video, they gonna have their stuff to say or whatever. I could care less. I hope Roland Martin, I would love to talk to Roland Martin, because I don't understand the thinking of our people, that why we think that we should just stay in the Democratic Party only, even when they won't address us. Every time you ask them about, well, mass incarceration, they say, yes, we need to sit down and talk about mass incarceration, but they never tell you they're going to do nothing about it. When you talk about failing schools, they're like, yes, we're going to have universal pre-care. That was their answer out here. Obama, your boy, and de Blasio over here. That was their answer, universal pre-K. But meanwhile, we got boys dropping out of high school. But somehow universal pre-K was going to be the answer for black poverty. This is the shit they do. And it's because we don't challenge them. And you know why we don't challenge them? Because we sitting up in the church praying about the issue, when you should be separating your church from state. We have to learn as black people, separate church from state. You got spiritual food, and then you got a way of life. And if anybody who would tell you to vote against yourself, you got to look at them 2, 3, 4, and 5 times. I showed you, you can go back to my video, I showed you how illegal immigration jacked up black people in California. I talked to you about how illegal immigration killed the construction market, where brothers was coming up, moving into middle class from construction. They were joining unions, making $29, $30 an hour, paid vacation, benefits, all that gone because somebody else could come back. It wasn't no big to do. These liberals sat right back and said, yeah, that's right. Let's give the HB1 visas and we'll get cheap labor and forget the rest of these people. We don't care if black people do better. We don't care if it was making a turn, like more black men were having more money in their pockets and entering middle class society through construction and electricians. So they didn't care. The Democrats did not. This is a blue state. They did nothing to protect those union workers. Nothing. The MTA was the only union organization. Even though Lord knows I don't like to ride the train. I'm a cab girl. I prefer to take a taxi, rent, whatever I have to do. But the MTA was the only organization that stood up against Bloomberg. The only one, you know. So stay out when you need to vote and you looking for a reason why you should vote for somebody on the issues.org. Don't go to the church. Go to ontheissues.org. You can see how every senator and congressman or woman votes on that website. You can see how they voted for the broken windows policy. You can see who used it. Cory Booker used it. And then after he used it, determined that it didn't work. When it didn't work before he used it. It didn't take a genius to know that it wasn't going to work because it was used before he decided to implement it. But he used it anyway, didn't he? On black folks. Then said, oh, it don't work. These are the Democrats, and nobody puts pressure on them. The churches will have you bent over for the Democrats for the rest of your life. And Trump is not perfect. He has said some things or whatever people don't like. He said some things that I don't agree with. Hey, it is what it is. I don't agree with a lot of people, but I'll still have to work with people whether I agree with them or not. Whether they are white or not, I'm going to still have to work and deal with people. We got to get off this racist, oh, the white man, the white man, the white man. And then you never if I was a white person, I would be upset at the fact that black people don't point out who the white man is. Everybody, the white man and white supremacy. Why don't you guys start naming the organizations and who these white supremacy? You can't just be like the white man and white supremacy and you not naming no organization. You're not naming the people who for people to look at. I talk about the Klan all the time. Somebody told me the Klan don't exist. I said, oh, really? Okay, the Klan doesn't exist. You got other branches. They may not be walking around with the sheets on and riding horses with torches and all that, but you have so many other branches that have formed under the KKK because they're not, idiots. What they did was figure out, okay, well, let's move away from the name Ku Klux Klan and let's call ourselves the Proud this. Let's call us the White Knights. Let's call ourselves the British Knights. Let's call ourselves, all these different things, but it's still the same type of teaching and understanding of hate. They hate black people just to hate black people for no reason. They just hate you. They call you monkeys. The Klan doesn't have a valid reason. Trust me, I be on their websites. I go on their websites and read their stuff. They just don't like black people, period. They just don't like you not to like you. But they really hate Jewish people. They really hate Jews. And if you read some of the stuff that I'm like, wow. It's crazy, but like I said, name these peoples, and you talk about white supremacy and you in the white man system, and you voting for the white man, and then you doing this and all of that stuff. Name these white supremacists. Name them. Don't be a coward. Name the organizations and name the white supremacists. That's what you should be telling people, because you can't just look at every white person and be like, oh, that person is a racist or whatever. But then you go to church. Oh my God, it was white people in the church at the Roland Martin thing. How is the white people in the church ain't a couple of, I think one or two white people even got up and spoke. How is the white people in the church not the racist people, but everybody else is the racist white man? Except for if you come in the church. If you walk in the church, you must be right. Damn. Let me show you something right here. You know what? Let's go back to the voting rights. This act right here, the Voting Act section that was struck down by the Supreme Court, none of that shit affects you today. Okay? You don't have any of those issues. You know what black people issue is? You don't vote. You don't vote on the local elections, and you don't show up at the primaries. You show up for the national, which is the presidential race. You'll show up for that one. And mostly the reason why you'll show up for that one is if it's racially motivated. And once again, that will be the pastors coming in, telling you about racism and this, that, and the third, and then you'll come. The NAACP will step their bourgeois selves out of there, and talk about, yeah, just voter suppression and all of that. And they had the poor people's campaign, but the people in the projects are jacked up. And you never see the NAACP on poor black issues. You don't see them out there on that. They only come out for voting. But back to black people not voting. Let's go over here. This, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of people. They use people. Them people are God fearing people, and a lot of those pastors and stuff like that, they ain't nothing but some pimps. Chicken fried, chicken grease, biscuit, greasy, jelly pimps. Because they take advantage of y'all in there, and y'all in there with good hearts and intention, and y'all want to praise the Lord, and you want to give thanks, and you want to do right by your brother man and all that, and that's cool on the spiritual side. But when we talking economics, we can no longer just sit down and be like, okay, yeah, well, we're gonna pray to God on the issue. You got to do some work. You got to do some work. You got to figure the civics thing out, because it's the only opportunity we have, and it's actually right now. Like after this, after Trump goes, we could forget it. We might as well already forget it. I don't even know. Like, I don't know if I refresh this page. I definitely wanted to get in this just to show, just to back up. Don't, like, I do ramble and talk a lot or whatever at times, but I do like to back up what I'm saying and show you that. Wait for me too. So I know, there have been tons of people before me saying this stuff, but black people refuse to listen. Black turnout, and even reading all of this, I'll put it in the description. You come back and read it all. But what I wanted to get to, well, let's see, where do I want to get to? Okay, I'm gonna start right here. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, another trick. Colored people announced that it had registered 5.5 million black voters in 34 states and the District of First, and estimated that black electorate could number as many as 12 million. In the end, that was about how many blacks turned out. According to census data compiled after the fact, turnout reached 58.5% for an estimated black population of 20 million. That was back then. Data on voting by race isn't available for years before 1964, but the NAACP estimated at the time that no more than 5 million African Americans voted in the presidential election of 1960. This gonna blow your mind right now. Let's go. Come on, girl. Let's go. What's most impressive about the 1964 result, though, is that it happened at a time when some southern states still viciously repress blacks' attempts to vote. That wouldn't begin to end until the following year, when the Voting Rights Act was passed with the strong support of Lyndon B. Johnson, who owed much of his reelection margin to that of the enormous black turnout. In fact, black turnout outside the South hit 72% in 1964, a level it has not reached since. Let's read that again. In fact, black turnout outside the South hit 72% in 1964, a level it has not reached since. In the South, black turnout was just 44%. Well, we know why. Okay, this is just speaking on the benefits of what I buy. It's a real. Here we go. This is why I want this. I want this to stick in your mind. Those numbers would begin. Sorry. those numbers would begin converging in 1968. And by the 1900s, Black turnout in the South was identical to the rates seen in the rest of the country. Southern Black turnout even exceeded the rest of the country's for President Obama's two elections. Okay, that's not the big to do. And I want to find that for you. Well, basically, you could go back and read this. This is New York Times. That's the title of it. But when you have not turned out and been like in 19 huge numbers. After that, you didn't come out. Here we go, right here. Here's the map. The graph. These are the midterm elections. You was popping in the 60s and you went flat. Came back up a little bit over 40%. Then by late 89, you went back down flat. And you can't even look, the midterms, you can't even get up to 50, over 50% because you don't come out in the midterms, because you don't research. You listen to the church and the church don't tell you to go out and vote, then you ain't motivated. And they're only motivated by the 501c3. This was the president that gave them the 501c3, Lyndon B. Johnson, a Democrat from Texas. And ever since then, the churches have been loyal to the Democrats. Okay, here was the thing I wanted you. Black voters wouldn't go to the polls at such levels again until President Obama's first election in 2008. So you mean to tell me Black people didn't, after 1964, like that was it, like, oh, 5 people voted here, 10 people voted here, and you wonder why things are the way they are today? When you wouldn't participate, you would not participate, and now you're still not participating the way you should. Because these people are inconvenienced, and the NAACP felt snubbed, so they crap. Well, we seen the turnout of the election. We know the Republicans have the Senate, and I'm actually happy about that because Democrats want open borders, and no matter how racist you think that is, when you are not living in the higher tax paying districts and you have to live in the hood, I will tell you, you will feel extremely different if some of those people had to switch and come down to the hood and put their children in a school where their class size could potentially go up to 40 students in a class. Because let's just say, somebody illegal got here, they child got to go to school, right? They registered them in school. We already got 38 students, but we got to put Hector, Tony, and everybody else up in the classroom. And the teacher's like, well, wow, I really don't have, oh, well, you just have to make room. That's what they tell the teachers. Well, just make room. Just make space. They have kids outside and shit that look like trailer parks. Am I freaking lying? And I know they're not just doing this in New York. You got kids in school in trailer looking shit. Our kids. You know why? Because the goddamn schools are overcrowded. They're overcrowded. Go in any school. I challenge you. If you live in New York, go in any school and tell me that these classes are not packed to capacity. The only classes that might be smaller are the self-contained classes. And those are for children with special needs that have different, learning disabilities or maybe a little bit behind. Those classes are called self-contained. The only class you will see maybe like 8 to 12 students tops. The rest of these classes, you're going to see about 38 to 40 students. And that's due to illegal immigration. You used to come move around and say, you like, hey, I don't like this neighborhood. They too loud over here. There's too much gangster shit going on over here, whatever. I'm just gonna move. Not now. No, you won't. Because the rich have already bought up, China done bought up Midtown, downtown. Well, that's owned by China now. I don't care how many white people you see they renting from the Chinese. That's how it's going. They done bought up all those properties. Now, it used to be a time in New York where in certain buildings, even though they may have had a what do you call those people, the doormen and whatever like that, they would allow people, of a lower income to, move in some of these buildings. Not anymore. It's the crime with it. The Democrats can do jacking up your security the way they do. They don't have no problem with that. A man ran out here, and I think I forget his name, but he ran on rent is too damn high, and everybody was feeling him, but nobody knew what type of political background he had. So that's the only reason he didn't win, because we weren't sure about that. But yeah, rents is too damn high. Rents is too damn high. Schools is too damn packed. The economy is not doing well. The redlining that they still doing, and in the poverty sections, they're putting shelters and packing a building in every crevice. They could care less about your quality of life. But I can guarantee you, everybody that's urging you to vote for open borders and vote to take down ICE, an organization, fentanyl and shit like that from coming in your country, shut that down. They do not live in your communities. That's why they don't care. And as soon as you say something about, they're gonna call you a racist, and the church people gonna say you a devil. You a devil. Okay, we gotta love everybody. It's nothing wrong with loving everybody, but God damn it, you gotta love yourself first. I'ma love me first. I'ma love my family first. I don't want my kids out here left behind, and you know what I'm saying? We have to think about the future of our children. You let everybody in, okay, you letting all these people in. Do you really think that they're gonna turn around and say, well, you know what? Let's help out the black people. We done been down this damn road. We've been talking about, oh my God, drugs. We've been talking about the way we've been unfairly treated. And everybody that came into this country, from the Latinos down to different whites, down to even Caribbean, would tell you racism don't exist. Black people is lazy. Black people is crazy. Black people don't know what they're talking about. Black people's all this stuff. And look at today. Look at today. Black people should feel vindicated because you have been telling these people all these things for the longest. And look, people are hypocritical because they want to, pile up, stockpile in America, but then in their countries, they will never allow you to do that. They will never allow an American to go over to any Latin, any white, any Chinese, whatever, any country, and change the language and make you